This is Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. It's time to take a look at your MLB overnight lines for Wednesday, July the 6th. Let's get right down to it. And let's begin with the Cincinnati Reds and the Chicago Cubs NL Central matchup on Wednesday. And I'll tell you what, sometimes when you see a price sitting out there that you think has some value, you've got to hold your nose, take a deep breath, and take a shot with the bad team over the really good team. And that's what I'm going to try to do here with the Cincinnati Reds, because I really like what I'm seeing from Anthony DeSclafani. Anthony DeSclafani, since returning to this Cincinnati Reds rotation, coming off the DL, he's been great. He's been that one guy in this Cincinnati rotation that, hey, start in, start out, coming into the game, giving his team a chance to win, keeping runs off the scoreboard. 1.78 ERA for him in 5 starts, allowing just 6 earned runs in 30.1 innings. How about 3 walks to 19 strikeouts over his last 21 innings? So very impressive stuff from DeSclafani over his last 3 starts. And he's got some decent numbers against the Cubs, especially here at Wrigley Field. He's allowed just 4 runs in 19 career innings over a span of 3 starts pitching here at Wrigley Field against the Cubs. So very impressive stuff from DeSclafani, and I think he's got a chance to keep the Reds in this game and at least give them a chance. Adam Warren is going to be on the mound for the Chicago Cubs. He's making a spot start, moving from the bullpen to the rotation for this game. He's not likely to pitch deep based on if any of the outings he made as a starter when he was with the New York Yankees organization. He didn't pitch more than 6 innings in 8 of his last 10 starts with the Yankees. And the Cubs bullpen, which is good at the back end, a little bit leaky in middle relief. Some of those arms you can score off in that middle relief portion of the Cubs bullpen. So I think Cincinnati's lineup is capable enough that they can do some damage here, if potentially against Warren early in the game, and then against the bullpen as the game of the Cubs as the game goes on. The Reds bullpen, of course, is always scary. It's one of the worst bullpens still in Major League Baseball. It's been the worst bullpen most of the season, so you do have a concern with them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bet Cincinnati in this game. You can get close to plus 160 with the Reds as an underdog, but I'm going to split it up between the first 5 innings and the full game, because just in case that Reds bullpen becomes an issue late, I'm going to split it up half on the first 5 innings, half on the full game with Cincinnati. I think they're live. I think they can maybe steal one. And last I checked, before as we were recording this video, they were leading the Cubs in the Tuesday game between these teams. So, maybe they have a chance to give the Cubs some fits one more time on Wednesday. Either way, the price is good enough that I'll look to the Reds as a big dog on Wednesday with DeSclafani on the mound, who I think is a bet on pitcher right now. Maybe the only bet on pitcher right now in this Cincinnati starting rotation. San Diego, they take on Arizona on Wednesday, July 6th. Colin Ray has had some good moments. Most of them, though, have been at Petco Park. On the road, it's been a much different story for Colin Ray of the Padres. 5.13 ERA in 5 road starts for Ray, allowing 17 runs on 26 hits and 26.1 innings in those 5 road starts. He's not pitched deep into games, and here's another bullpen with some very, very shaky arms in middle relief. We've seen the Padres bullpen, especially when the middle relief comes in, they've just gotten walloped. Look at what Baltimore did to them at Petco last week. I mean, just crushed that bullpen. So I think Arizona should be able to score some runs. I don't trust Ray on the road where he's been hit around a little bit. But Shelby Miller is the opposing pitcher here for Arizona. And this guy, he can't wait for the All-Star break to get here, because this first half of the season is among one of the worst first halves I've seen of any starting pitcher. He's inept. He's been absolutely inept. He's been awful, brutal, has Shelby Miller. Control, command have been pathetic since the beginning, with too many walks, way too many walks, free passes being issued by Shelby Miller. And he's been battered in each of the last 2 starts he's made. They thought a stint on the DL would fix these issues that he had, but in each of his last 2 starts, they've not been pretty. 12 runs on 19 hits allowed in 12 innings of work against Colorado and San Francisco combined. He's not pitched well at all here at Chase Field. 7.05 ERA at home this season for Shelby Miller. So I think San Diego will have their share of success against him here in this one. Total sitting at 9.5, but the over 6-0 in the last 6 meetings between San Diego and Arizona, and I think we'll get a similar outcome here. We'll go over the total, 9.5, San Diego, Arizona on Wednesday, July the 6th. We've got Texas and Boston, big AL matchup there. Martin Perez. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop on this guy. I mean, he keeps on getting by, but I just don't think he's going to be able to keep this up throughout the course of the season. The advanced numbers say he's due to regress. His FIP and his XFIP higher than his ERA. And I think sooner or later something is going to happen with Martin Perez. He keeps out pitching what his advanced numbers say, though. I mean, last 2 starts against Minnesota, Boston, very good, 3 runs in 13 innings. But now this is going to be a second look for Boston. They just saw Martin Perez a couple weeks ago, and even though he held them to 1 run in 6 innings, I think they're going to fare better against Perez here at Fenway. Another chance for the Red Sox lineup to have more information on Perez, have a better approach at the plate, do a better job, I think, this time around. Stephen Wright has been a bet-on pitcher most of the season for me, but I'm worried that maybe he's running out of gas a little bit as we come to the All-Star break, because he's been roughed up in 2 straight starts. Texas hit him hard for 8 runs in 4.2 innings, and then last time out against the Angels here at Fenway, he labored through 5 innings, 4 runs allowed on 8 hits. Not great numbers from Stephen Wright. I think he's still a very good knuckleball pitcher. He didn't do anything that he did prior to that by fluke or by accident. He knows how to pitch, but I just think, he's a little fatigued right now, a little run down. He's not used to pitching this many innings in a season, so I think the All-Star break couldn't come at a better time for Stephen Wright. I'd lean to Boston still in some form. I trust Wright still a bit more than Perez. Not sure if I'll bet it. Maybe over the total if Wright's, fatigue issues, maybe wearing down a bit, continue. Maybe there'll be a high-scoring game. I'm very scared to bet any Boston game under the total right now at Fenway in this heat. And Texas's starting pitching has not been pitching deep, and their bullpen is just gassed. I mean, this bullpen's been forced to log a ton of innings because there's a bunch of starters in this rotation. Nick Martinez, just a bunch. Chichi Rodriguez, go on down the line. These are all a bunch of guys that, first of all, aren't that effective. That's number one. Number two, they don't pitch deep. And this bullpen is logging multiple innings, game in and game out, and they're wearing down, and they're giving up runs as a result. So I'd be weary right now about betting any Texas game or Boston game for that matter under the total. That is for sure. Let's also take a look at Kansas City, Toronto. Ian Kennedy, Marcus Stroman, big rematch of the ALCS going on between these teams. Royals, you can't like what you're seeing from the Royals right now. They haven't been playing all that great as of late. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games, lost the opener of this series against Toronto. Wade Davis just been placed on the 15-day DL, and that's as big an injury in a team's bullpen in terms of a single bullpen arm as any team could suffer in Major League Baseball. Wade Davis being out is a big deal. It's a really big deal for the Kansas City Royals. This guy was always coming in there, locking down the door, and all these other relievers, Luke Hochevar and Kelvin Herrera, and go on down the list, they've not been as effective as a group, this Royals bullpen. So we thought about this Royals bullpen. You can't score against them beyond 6 innings last year. They came in and they nailed the door shut. That's not the case so far here in 2016, especially now with their closer, Wade Davis, on the rack and on the DL due to a right forearm strain. So big concerns with the back end of ball games right now for this Kansas City team. Now the key for Marcus Stroman was that last start that he had against Cleveland a sign of a turnaround and getting back to pitching the way we think he's capable of? Or is that just a blip on the radar screen? Because it's been a rough month or so for Marcus Stroman. There's no question about that. He had gone through a stretch where he gave up 7 runs to Boston, 6 runs to Boston, 4 runs to Baltimore, 7 runs to Baltimore, 4 runs in 5 innings against the White Sox, and then finally, last time out against Cleveland on Canada Day, July 1st, 1 run in 6.2 innings, 1 walk to 6 strikeouts. Great performance from Stroman. The question is, can he build on that now, taking on Kansas City? He faced them once last year in the ALCS, in fact. 4 runs on 11 hits and 6.1 innings, but a lot of the damage ended up being done later in that game. He got off to a good start against Kansas City, and then they finally picked up on him late and started to have some better swings. So we'll see if Stroman, that last start is a sign of a turnaround. One thing's for sure, it's pretty well regarded in the markets here, the difference between Ian Kennedy and Marcus Stroman. Ian Kennedy's problem right now is the home run ball. I mean, you look at Ian Kennedy, he has now gone 6 straight starts where he's allowed at least one home run. That's not a recipe for success at the Rogers Center. It's not a recipe for success against the Blue Jays, the way they've been hitting the ball of late. I mean, we're talking about Ian Kennedy having yielded 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 home runs in his last 5 starts, or in his last 6 starts, rather. That's not good. That is not good at all, and that's not what you want to see facing this Blue Jays lineup in Toronto specifically. So, very worried about Ian Kennedy in this outing. Maybe, if anything, Toronto team total over might be worth a look, just because I don't know what Stroman's going to do. That's the concern with betting the game over the total, is that Stroman might, that game against Cleveland, that start that he had, maybe a sign of a bounce back for him, that he's back on track. I'm not sure, because I don't want to rush to conclusions after one good start for Stroman, but I will say this. If you like Toronto to hit Kennedy, and I do. I think they're going to have some success. Maybe the team total for the Blue Jays over, a little bit of a safer option in this game than playing the full game over the total between the Royals and Jays on Wednesday, July 6th. That's going to wrap up my look at MLB overnight lines for the games on Wednesday.
Always on the go? Bet365 has one of the top mobile platforms in today's market. Sign up today and don't let your busy life keep you out of the game.